we're going to be looking at how your church can surround families in the first 1,000 days, how they can build supportive and loving relationships that encourage and support parents to give their child all that he or she needs to grow up healthy and strong and to thrive. So let's start with a bit of the why. Why must we surround families in the first 1,000 days? And at the end of it, I'm hoping we can see why it is the local church that is best positioned to be surrounding families in the first 1,000 days. So I want to start off by watching a video. It's called If It Takes a Village to Raise a Child, Build Your Own Village. Let's have a listen.
My first year as a mother was the most isolating time in my life. I felt completely disconnected. I didn't even want a second child if I had to relive that year again. We like to say or think that new parents are happy after their first baby. The reality is that many are not. In a recent study, over 70% of new parents reported being less happy in the first 2 years. The average new parent experienced a severe drop in happiness, a drop greater than that from divorce or the death of a partner. The more unhappy parents tended to stop having children. We say it takes a village to raise a child. But modern parents don't live in villages. Villages used to be a natural way for us to learn from and receive help from our extended families and the surrounding communities. Now, parents often dive alone into the most important life-changing role they may ever have, with little preparation and support. What today's parents need are modern villages. In my second pregnancy, I created a modern village. Mothering 2 children felt so natural and positive. I wanted to have a third baby. Modern villages can provide parents with built-in support and can give aspiring parents a natural way to learn about parenting life before becoming parents. It does indeed take a village. For the sake of children and parents, we must build these modern villages. Mothers and fathers, we must learn to be vulnerable and ask for help. And we, as family, as friends, as neighbors, we must learn to step up and support parents. We can start now. We can think of a child, a young child that we know, and reach out to that child's parent this week and ask, what can I do to be part of your village? Together, let's make parenting more natural for the next generation. Let's be a village.
I love that, and that she asks, how can we go and ask a family? If you think about it, child in the first 1,000 days in your church, in your community, and going and asking them, how can you be part of their village? It's something we asked in our monthly challenge to go and do. And it's because we believe that this is a strength of the local church, to be able to create community around one another. And we know that no other public institution gets it right like the church can and does. And so picture creating a community around young families. It means coming around a family, surrounding a family. This is creating loving relationships with moms, dads, and caregivers that help them to feel supported, to feel safe, relaxed, cared for, whilst giving them the confidence in their ability to parent well and be able to provide responsive, nurturing care for their young child. Surrounding families like this is important to prevent parents from feeling overwhelmed, lonely, isolated, stressed or fearful. And so surrounding families is your church really living out that saying of it takes a village to raise a child. And it means creating this modern day village around mom and dad in the first 1,000 days to raise their child that's in the first 1,000 days. And so we are specifically talking about surrounding families that are in the first 1,000 days. So expecting parents, new moms, new dads, single parents. And this does not mean that you have to take the child and care for that child on your own or raise it. It doesn't mean it's a group of houses or buildings or an actual village or town. I'm referring to the way of life that is important, essential, or part of everything that that community does. And it's a way of life that passes from one generation to the next, where individuals know one another well, they share their joys, they share their burdens, their sorrows of everyday life, and they nurture one another in times of need. It's where families who are expecting a baby or have a newborn baby always know that there is someone there to help or to support them or just to talk to them, because their struggles are known, their joys are known, and they feel like they're part of an extended family, which may not be their biological family, but it's that kind of village that should be the most natural environment that a child grows up in. And I think until recently, mothers have always shared each other's life's burdens, where they'd wash clothes together whilst their babies are playing, they'd babysit, they'd mourn together, they'd swap stories, they'd help with postnatal depression or postpartum challenges, they'd care for one another if mum was sick or baby sick, they'd help mum or dad mourn whilst the loss of a child, and they just supported one another through life's changes. And this kind of village life does create a sense of safety. It feels like you're included, you belong, that there's purpose and there's acceptance. And it's where everyone is relied on for another strength when times are rough, or they rely on one another for strength when times are rough. And so who better than the church, where families in the first 1,000 days feel like they're part of a family, part of a village where they can belong to, that they're loved, that they're seen, because then their baby will grow up in that environment, in that village, in that church family. And imagine the impact on that child's life, knowing that they belong, that they're loved, and that they're in a family, in a church family from the very beginning of life. So, but what is sad is that we've lost these villages, and yet we really need them. And our children need them to grow and have a good start to life. And we really are seeing the consequences of mums and dads living in a community where there are no supportive relationships, where they're not strengthened to parent well, and they're isolated from all support systems. And you'll hear us saying that parenting should not be done alone. Parents should not have to parent alone. And because this really does impact on their quality of life, and therefore on the quality of life of their unborn child or new child. And this is because in the absence of a village, or without the village, there's an enormous pressure on parents as they try to make up what entire communities used to provide for families raising a child. And so we see there are single parents trying to carry all the burdens of parenting on their own. We see that the priorities of parents become unclear as they try to meet all the different needs of parenting. They also feel less safe and more anxious about without the support and without knowing a group of people that have known them well and grown with them. And we see that actually in a time where they need support, they are trying to create their own villages, where they're trying to find people around them to support them, when in actual fact, they don't have the time or the energy, just having had a new baby, to be doing that. And so we as the local church can go and look for these families to support them, rather than waiting for them to find us. And so we can start doing this when baby is in the womb. And I think as I'm talking, you're probably already seeing ways in which you can create a village around moms and around dads in your communities at different times where moms and dads are needing support and love. And to do this, we need to start by building positive and supportive relationships, to practically show love to families. And in this way, we'll be surrounding families in the first 1,000 days as a first 1,000-day friendly church, or an FTD friendly church. And so when we see that moms and dads feel safe, that they're accepted, they have purpose, that someone will take the time to ask them how they're doing. Someone will come and sit with them and have coffee, to talk to them, to babysit, so that they could maybe sleep or have a shower, maybe spend time with their husband or wife, where someone will provide a meal when mom can't cook or dad can't afford to cook. The struggles of parenting become shared, and people around them listen and help them carry their burdens. And so we do believe that the church can do this. And so we're going to go through now how you can support families in the first 1,000 days.
Thank you, Bryony. So how do we do this? How do we create this beautiful village? How do we practically do this as churches? How do we surround families? And I want to go through 3 steps that you can be taking to start off. And the very first one is by getting to know the families in the first 1,000 days. Really, what is important is how do we get to know who is in this space? And then we are also looking at how we can be providing practical support and building a supportive relationship. So starting with getting to know the families in the first 1,000 days, in order for you to be surrounding families, it's really important to work out who in your church is in the season, who are the families that are in the season, and having a system. I know some churches have somebody that they have a list, or the members of the church can tell them, like, we found out so-and-so is pregnant, so that we can keep track of who is pregnant and who is in the stage, so that we can get to know them. So some questions to ask for yourself here is, do you know who is in the first 1,000 days in your church? And do you see new families in the first 1,000 days coming to your church, or from the area coming to your church? And do you visit all the families in your church who are pregnant or have a new baby? And when I say you, I mean your church generally. Maybe you've got an individual or a team, someone who is able to reach out and to visit them. So step 1 in surrounding families is finding out who's in the first 1,000 days. And then part of finding out is then listening to these families, finding out what's happening in their lives, what are their needs, in order for your church to better serve and support and connect with them. That as we talk about this, you realize, well, these type of activities might serve the families in this church, but will need to look different in a different church. So we have a resource to help you to listen to families in the first 1,000 days that we'll be putting in the chat box, that you can link to help you with some questions you could be asking. The other thing that you can be looking at is finding practical ways to be caring for families. So part of surrounding families, one is the relationship, and is the practical ways that we can be supporting families. And so looking at how you are caring for families in this stage. So do you care for your congregants generally in this way? And then how does that specifically look like for families in the first 1,000 days with a young baby? What does it look like? And do you have moments where families in the first 1,000 days can meet with one another or form a group for support? So there might be events or structures, which I'll talk to in a moment, that do this. Do you provide practical support for your congregants, and focus in on the practical things with regards to families in the first 1,000 days. So we're looking at here also some of the barriers that families might be facing. So maybe the mom needs help to get to the clinic, or needs someone to help look after baby, or needs some meals or clothes for a clothes swap, or needs some nappies. That there are some practical things that we can be looking at. So these are some of the practical ways that you as a church or as an individual can come around families and surround them. There are various ways that you could be creating spaces or groups or times for people to be coming together, for moms and dads to build relationships with each other, or with other people in the church. So these are ways that they could be connecting with one another. The big idea is that at the time when families have additional needs, that the church moves closer to these families, and that they don't drift out of community because it's hard or because nobody sees them, but actually that they're drawn into community and drawn closer into relationship. And so as we think about these families and creating these spaces, it might be in small groups or in home groups or life groups, those midweek meetings that you might have. You might have one specifically for young families to come together where they can be meeting. Maybe it's at a time that works well for families in the season. If we think about our Sunday morning meeting, you might have a parents' room or a mom's room where these families are engaging with one another. This could be a facilitated space. You could have a volunteer in that room who's meeting with the parents, praying for them, facilitating that room or that space. Another thing that works really well is moms groups. These generally are very useful for moms to get together midweek. They tend to find good friendships and support and a space to get out of the house and to be with people who care for them. And so these moms groups can range from like 2 or 3 ladies having coffee in somebody's home to a much larger group of ladies coming together. But we need to think also about when parents return to work and maybe can't join a mom's group. What could we be doing maybe on the weekend, on a Saturday, or once a month that would connect those parents? Other ideas we've seen is play dates in the park, where we're inviting parents with young children in the first 1,000 days together to go to the park, or having an outing together, or having a mom's tea party. We also need to think about fathers, gathering fathers together, young fathers together. Maybe they doing something around soccer or having a bra, or we're including them in the baby shower, having a nappy bra or baby shower for dads is something we can also be including. So these are events or groups that might happen once a week, they might happen once a month or once a quarter, but they're spaces that are good for parents to find each other, to build relationships, to support each other, to learn together, and to feel like I'm not alone. I'm not the only one in the space. Parents in this time then can share their joys and their struggles with each other and share where they need help. So a video of one church of what they've, or 2 churches, what they've done to surround families in this way, as an example.
Moms Come is our weekly get together for moms with young kids, where we meet over coffee, engage in a brief discussion around scripture, and we pray for one another. It's loud, it's messy, it's disrupted, but it's us doing life in community.
Even to the mothers that are breastfeeding, we even now know that we need to give them a special corner where they can feel free to breastfeed and still be part of what's happening in the church, not to be excluded to a point that they need to go outside because they need to breastfeed or feel uncomfortable. So by having a special place for them, a special area where they know that they can breastfeed there comfortably, and still be part of what's happening, listening to what is happening in the church, and be involved. We do not have to exclude them because we feel they have kids now, they need to breastfeed and all that, but they still need to be part and parcel of what is happening in the church.
This is what I do, asking donations from mom who already have babies, and then I give it to the pregnant moms who are in need. So the church is supporting me by giving me a space to host the baby showers. As you could see the photos, it's a church, so they support me by doing that. And I also recruit at church moms who are pregnant, and then I host them.
So those are a few examples of how churches have done that. And so you can be journeying with a mom or dad individually too, to form a supportive relationship. So it might not be in a group setting like we've just spoken about, but you can also look at individually checking in regularly, sending a word of encouragement. This could be simply knowing who's pregnant with a baby in your congregation, knowing them by name, and checking in to see how they're doing and sending them a word of encouragement and support. It might be calling the church community to care for teenage parents and showing them some love and kindness. And you could be starting a specific group for teen moms or teen dads where they could be supported. They can hear, you can hear their needs and encourage them. So we've seen a church do that where midweek they have bring the teams together to have something specific for them. And then we have another video from that can show.
If you pay attention to the beginning of the story, then you can change the whole story. So that is something that we have took initiative into saying that is what we are going with to the families. All I want to say is, as the love of God, we care and support. Most of all, we support families, and most of all teen moms and teen dads with their families and with their children as well. As the love of God, we have been doing a lot in the church. We have been doing a lot for mothers and also for teen dads. Mostly it was something that when it was raised to us as a church, that now in order for us to flourish, we need to also include fathers. So now with the mothers that I have, as a church, we had 14 mothers, which it's been something which it has been something that has come out of, it has a positive effect to the church as well. Why am I saying a positive effect? It's that the mothers that we had as a church were mothers that maybe didn't get the information, didn't even know that you must go to the clinic, or after the child, when the child is born, you must also go to make certificates and take the children to the immunizations and all that. But through the Sekunye book that I got, the booklet that helped mothers, there are information at the back where you can check when the child is born, that directed us and guided us through all the time that we were with the mothers. When we do the home visits, what we've learned is we go to the houses and just check how they are doing. Maybe if there's something that I can help in order to not put a burden on them. Maybe let's say the child wants to go to the mall. I'll say, oh no, bring the child. So I will just keep the child with me. Then the person will go and do and run their errands. So it's something that we have never done before, but it's something that as a church we are learning to do, just to be there and changing their story. With fathers, there was this guy, his name is Tabumbata. We sat with, we had our fatherly talk, which was so deep and which taught us a lot of things, because with fathers we didn't have anything lined up for them until it was said to us and it was brought into our attention. I remember one day when Tabiso was here, asking me, how do you go to the clinic, and what is it that they will ask? Then with the information I was able to say, no, you take your card, you take your ID, you go to the clinic at this time. The child must go for their 6 weeks, as much as bringing the father things. Then I remember last year, it was November, where we had our sale clearance. When I mean our sale clearance, is that we had where we brought a lot of clothes. I gathered clothes from different people, from friends, from donors who wanted to support the initiative. So we brought the clothes to the church. Then they had to choose whatever clothes that they had, and then I called that day, it was more like a shopping spree day, where you shop without no money. So now, yeah, those are the things that we have done, just to equip them and to make them see that we are worth them.
So, Prophetess Shirley has shared some good examples there of individually visiting with moms and with dads, and home visiting and equipping them with good information, but at the same time providing practical support. And so when we talk about this is a very practical time in the parent's life. And so there is much needed value in practical support around, maybe you could put together a care pack or nappies for a family. You can put together a meal roster to take meals to a family who have just returned from hospital, and have different people from the church dropping off meals. You could provide transport to the clinic. You could be caring for older siblings. You could practically go and help with some of the household chores, from washing the dishes or clothes, or helping mom have a cup of tea or have a nice bath to relax. So there are some practical things that we can be doing, including just even on a WhatsApp group where we could be surrounding families. And so the fruit of this is that we start to see new families regularly visiting our church, as the family feels that this season they stay in church. They're not staying away because bringing a baby is so hard to church, but rather they want to be part of the community and what is going on over there. So over to you, Bryony.
We're looking at, how do you then play your part? So how do you play your part in building the village around families in the first 1,000 days, and in your church and in your community? How are you making sure that parents don't have to try find people to care for them or ask for support, but rather that you and your church are looking for those families to come around them, surround them with love, and the kind of love that Jesus asks us to show others, as we heard in the scripture today. So often we get asked, well, who can do this? Who can go visit mums and dads and surround them? And everyone has a role in our church. In the community of the church, you have different people in your church. You have those who have different strengths. So it's looking at who you can ask. I would avoid asking anybody that is actually in the first 1,000 days themselves to care for other families, because we know due to time and having a new baby, it can be challenging, but include others. So don't try to do it all on your own. It's creating awareness within your church around how can you be a modern day village, and how can you provide the practical things to support moms, dads, single parents, teen parents. And so, for example, let's think about senior parents or parents who have older children. And in your church, you may have some grannies, grandpas, gogos, and they can play a part in surrounding families. So you can talk with the seniors or the older parents, and ask them whether they would be willing to be like a granny or a grandpa that can mentor the new parents. We had a story of a church who called it renting a granny, where they had a mom's tea party, where they asked an older woman from their church to come and speak at the tea party. And it was received very well with the mums. And this lady who was called the granny really enjoyed spending time with the young mums and being able to share and mentor them. And it was really good for all the generations, for the 3 generations, for the senior, for the mum, and for the unborn child or the new baby. And it does include everybody in the church. And so the same can be done for dads by asking older men in the church to mentor new dads. And so what's important, though, is in order to be able to do this is to be building positive and supportive relationships with mums and dads. So you've heard us say, so that they feel seen, that they feel heard, emotionally supported, part of a community. And so how do we build these kind of relationships? And so at the beginning of this evening, we asked you to describe a person in your life that is supportive, positive, and what do they say, or what do they do, or what is it about them that makes you feel supported? I saw a few more other things came into the chat box, but it was things that they're creating a space for you to share, even if you're vulnerable. It's encouraging, it's listening without interrupting, it's keeping things confidential, it's giving you time to you, not judging, and knowing your story by listening. And so we've summarized it into how to build a positive, supportive relationship for now. And so we just say to listen with empathy. So don't talk over mum, don't interrupt her, don't it's about not trying to fix the situation or trying to have a solution, but really simply sitting with mum in her emotions and letting her to feel those feelings, and not sharing your feelings unless mum asks you to. It's also looking at mum, so not getting distracted, looking at her in her eyes and connecting with her through looking in her eyes. It's making time for mum, so not to be multitasking or doing many things, but to really focus on her. It's keeping everything that she says confidential. So this will build trust with mum, and it's remembering details. So details like her name, baby's name, her situation. So it shows that you are listening with care and with love. And I keep saying mum, but this is also for dad. When you want to build a positive and supportive relationship with dad, it's the same thing. They may be carrying different struggles, different burdens, but it's the same elements of how do you build a relationship where mum and dad will trust you, where mum and dad will allow you to come into their home to support them, care for them, and be able to provide all the practical resources that they need. And so we have a resource around how to build positive, supportive relationships that we'll share with you. And this is why relationships really do matter. It's because it's the kind of people that we want around us when times are hard, and when you want people to be like your family. And it's not going to be every day, but it's going to be on the worst days. And building these caring, supportive relationships with families in the first 1,000 days really allows them to feel seen and to take their next steps in parenting well. And so who in your church can be asked to visit families, these kind of relationships? I encourage you to look into your church to see who's there that you can ask. You would have heard us throughout today saying that firstly, getting to know families, who's in the first 1,000 days. So asking people in your congregation who have that gift or have that heart for going and finding out who's in the first 1,000 days, checking in with them. Then you have who can set up programs or workshops or mums groups or baby showers. And then you have those who can mentor. So encourage you to look in your church for those who can help support you in surrounding families in the first 1,000 days. So I just want to share with you a few things that Secunya offers to be able to help you or equip you to go and surround families in the first 1,000 days. You would have heard in some of the videos speaking about a program or a training, and we have Katalela training. Katalela we offer to anyone in your church who wants to go and visit a mom or a dad or caregivers who are in the first 1,000 days at different key times in the first 1,000 days. And so The training is on WhatsApp, and it equips you with tools to go and visit mums and dads and surround them with love, care, and support. And so you can see Ruth is sharing with you our website. If you go to our website and find the tab that says events and workshops, and then you will find Katalela there, and you can register for Katalela and join us for that training. Where you will get the tools to be able to create the positive supported relationships, as well as the different information that you would want to share with mom and dad. I just want to put a bit of a warning out there, is that now we may have many ideas of how we can support mums and dads, but we must remember that our very first thing is to do no harm to mum or dad or baby. And so we really encourage saying, do not force a relationship with mum or dad. Do not push visits on them, or asking people in your church to go visit them, especially if baby is new and mum may have had a C-section, or maybe she's tired, or she's trying to breastfeed. So just really respecting the time that they want as a family, and how mum is feeling after birth, and just remembering that by building a positive and supportive relationship, we are ensuring that we do no harm to mum and dad. And so we'll share with you in the chat box the link to the Katalela page as well, so you can register for the upcoming trainings. But we do also have a resource page. So our website has been divided into to the different 6 elements of being a first 1,000-day friendly church. You will see the resource page, and as you drop down, there's the 6 different areas of how to be a first 1,000-day friendly church. And we're looking at surround family. So when you click on that one, it takes you to a page where there's a list of different resources that you can use both within your church on how to support and surround families, and then different resources that you can share with moms and dads to surround them with love and care. Some of the ones that we thought you might like to look at is how to set up and run a great mums group. So I'll share that link with you in the chat box. There's one on how to encourage fathers. And then there's the one that is on how to surround families in a first 1,000-day friendly church, which we are updating after this practical workshop. And so we will be sending that out again. But really do encourage you to go have a look at our websites on surrounding families to find these resources. I see Ruth has opened a resource on how to surround families, practically start a mom's ministry. So there's lots of ideas there. And so we have a bit of time now before we going to wrap up, and would love to hear if anybody has any questions around how to support families, or maybe you have a story of how you have been supporting families and surrounding families in the first 1,000 days. Would anyone like to unmute and just share with us a story or ask some questions?
Hi, it's Danelle speaking from Jacobsdal. Well, we've been looking at new kind of focus areas at our church, and one of our focus areas was outreach, and I was thinking of how this could help our community develop, and actually how our church can make a difference in our community, because we do have a very large informal sector, and to kind of support everyone in our community, and not only the people that are part of our church, but to support our community. I thought of this idea of like supporting mothers and families in the first 1,000 days could actually help them also. So I think someone said that most people don't know what to do and when to go to the clinic and stuff like that. So if we can find someone in our congregation that could actually help and has like a background of nursing, and we can also use that as a way to help parents in the first 1,000 days.
Thanks, Danelle. So thank you for your thoughts, and that's what we love is that we think of the families in our church who we would encourage to come to a mom's group or a tea or a father's breakfast or braai or soccer game, but they could invite other families. So, and that's how we see families from around in our community coming into church. It's making church a place where families want to come to. And so the Katalela training that we just showed you is something that anyone in your church can train in, and it does give you resources that you can take to parents and families in the first 1,000 days, and allows you to have the conversations with them, give them the information if they don't know, how to register baby's birth, or where to go for certain things. The Katalela training also encourages you to connect with other churches, other organizations in your area. So it really is around collaborating with other resources and then referring, which we are going to be doing in another practical workshop coming up. But you mentioned having someone in your church congregation who is a nurse who can go and provide that information, which in a way is adding to one of the areas, which is equip and prepare, is having experts come and speaking to families in the first 1,000 days. Again, something that we're going to be talking about in a future practical workshop. And so it's great to start thinking of those people, finding those people, those skills in your church congregation, but also recognizing that actually, in order to go and meet with a mom, you don't have to necessarily be an expert. You can refer mom to the experts, but to create those positive and supportive relationships, it's really the heart of the person, that they feel that this is a calling to them or a gifting to them, and they have a heart for connecting with moms or connecting with dads, teen moms, single parents, or elderly caregivers. And so we encourage Katalela because it is a guided session that you can go and meet with families and start building the relationships. And then having other trainings, workshops where you can bring in the experts. So we could go into more detail now, but these are all upcoming future practical workshops. So we're actually going to look at every single one of the 6 elements of being a first 1,000-day friendly church and how you can really work into that. So I don't know, I hope, Danelle, that answered a bit of your question or your comment, but I love your thinking, and I hope...
Thank you so much. I will definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah. Great, thank you. I did see that we had Sophie unmute. I didn't, Sophie, do you want to share something or ask a question?
Hi, everybody. Now I just wanted to say that being a Flourish host, it's really a great opportunity for me to reach out to moms, mostly as a mission partner of our church, going out in the community and reach families within the first 1,000 days, but also have the support of my church. Like there is a box in our church that our pastor said I can put there, so the congregation can put any pre-love, any baby, mom and baby products in there. And because I'm on the prayer team, I also have the opportunity to pray for families in the first 1,000 days, and also pray for issues or that arise within the first 1,000 days. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Sophie. And so for those who don't know Flourish, it is also a national initiative where they are training women in the community and in churches to be Flourish hosts. So the church can support by having a Flourish host come and run a antenatal or postnatal class in their church. I did see, Lionel, that you unmuted. Would you like to share?
No, thank you very much. This is Lionel Ranzani. I am talking from Bloemfontein. So I just want to say thank you very much for this first session. It's my first session the first time that I'm attending, but I've learned so much. there are so much things that I did not take notice in church that one can really introduce, and it really makes people to feel comfortable, like the one that we spoke about, the breastfeeding part. At my church, parents will go outside and then they will feed the children outside. But now one can actually learn more ways in which one can accommodate everyone, so that people can feel dignified, and then at the same time they can still follow the word of God and without missing out. There's quite a lot of things. So I'm really humbled, and I'm happy to be part of this.
Thank you, Lionel. Thank you so much for joining us. And I love that this is the first time you've joined, and you're seeing the opportunities in your church. And it is, we often think that to have a mum's room or somewhere for mums to breastfeed, we need to have a whole separate room, and it has to be, something part of our building structure. But actually, there's different ways of surrounding families. One can be, if you do have that opportunity, to have someone in that room who is talking to mums, engaging mums and dads, just giving an area that they can relax and feel loved and feel seen. My church has recently moved, and we don't have all those other rooms, and so we've actually been talking about, to have mums still come to church, where do we put them that they can breastfeed but still listen to the service? And so something like, even if we close the doors, just having a chair outside where mum could maybe get some privacy, or putting a curtain up. There's different ways of looking at it, of how we can actually still include mums, so they want to come to church, that their baby is raised in church, because they feel supported and loved in church. So I don't know, thank you very much, Lionel, for that. I don't know if anybody else has any comments. I know we have reached 8 o'clock. So thank you, Elizabeth, for saying that you're happy to have joined. I saw Pastor Ditaba. Did you unmute?
I like to add some words around family in first 1,000 of the newborn. We must, as a church, to give them a support to reduce the stress, to visit them and organize their food and clean the village and organize the transport to take them to the clinic. As a church and as a community, we must respect them and give a love. As a church and as a community, we must have prepare
Are you still there, Pastor Ditaba? But Pastor Ditaba has actually been part of a journey, a training with me recently, and he's made the comment of one of the ways of surrounding families is by washing their clothes, cooking food, as well as preparing warm water for mum and dad to be able to have a bath. And I really love that coming around and supporting families. Okay. Pastor Davis, thank you for your comments. You are planning to buy some nappies to one of your church members in the first 1,000 days. That's a brilliant idea. We had a baby shower for our pastor's wife the other day, and what we did was we had everyone write a word of encouragement on the nappy, and what we did is the woman in the church, we actually ended up writing different things, like for dad to remember to hug baby or touch baby or give baby a tummy tickle or massage, or to play peekaboo. And so it's a lovely way of writing like encouragements, but also how to be a first 1,000-day friendly parent to their child. So thank you very much, everyone.